Hi everyone! Before we get into this audiobook, I'd really appreciate it if you could hit the subscribe button and drop a like. It helps me out a lot as well as contributes a lot to the channel. Now, let's get into the story. I hope you enjoy. Every lifetime, I find him, the wrong Alpha, the one who marks me, uses me, and ruins me. Then I die, and it starts again. But in this life, I remember. I know what's coming. I know who he is. And this time, I won't fall. I'll find the true Alpha fate meant for me, and I'll break the cycle before it breaks me again. The first sensation was always the same. Cold, unyielding earth beneath my back, the faint metallic scent of damp soil filling my nostrils. Then came the taste of ash and regret, a phantom residue from 1,000 forgotten deaths. Finally, my eyes would flutter open, revealing a world that was both intimately familiar and terrifyingly new. This time, the ceiling was made of rough-hewn timber beams, a spiderweb of shadows cast by the flickering lamplight. A coarse wool blanket, smelling faintly of lavender and stale wood smoke, was pulled up to my chin. My body ached with a dull, persistent thrum, a lingering echo of an exhaustion so profound it felt ancient. I was in a small, rustic cabin, the kind nestled deep within the whispering embrace of an old-growth forest. Sunlight, weak and hesitant, filtered through a single grimy window, illuminating dancing dust motes in the air. This was it, then. The start. Again. A bitter wave of nausea washed over me, not from physical sickness, but from the crushing weight of memory. It was always the same, a relentless cyclical curse. I was born, I lived, I found him, the wrong Alpha, and then I died, only to be reborn into the same cursed fate. But this time, it was different. This time, the memories hadn't faded into indistinct echoes. They were sharp, vivid, a mosaic of past lives, each one ending in heartache, betrayal, and a premature, agonizing death. My name, in this life, was Lyra. A fitting name, I supposed, for someone perpetually caught in the constellations of destiny. My last life, as the spirited hunter, Wren, had ended beneath the jagged teeth of an enraged rogue, driven to madness by the very Alpha I had foolishly loved. Before that, as the gentle healer, Briar, I had succumbed to a slow, wasting sickness, ignored and discarded by a mate who found my compassion a weakness. The names changed, the circumstances varied, but the core narrative remained horrifyingly consistent. I, the destined mate, would inevitably encounter and fall for him, the charismatic, powerful Alpha who was never truly meant for me. He would mark me, bind me to him, with the irreversible magic of the mate bond, only to exploit my devotion, twist my loyalty, and ultimately be the unwitting instrument of my demise. My stomach churned, a cold knot of dread tightening within me. I remembered his face, perfectly chiseled, framed by dark, almost black hair. His eyes, the color of twilight, held a deceptive depth, a cunning intelligence that masqueraded as wisdom. His scent, even now, a phantom memory, was a heady mix of pine, ozone, and raw power, intoxicating and dangerously addictive. He was the Alpha of the Blackwood pack, a formidable leader, revered by his people, feared by his enemies. And he was my curse. But this time, I had knowledge. This time, I had a weapon more potent than any silver blade or wolf's fang: memory. I knew his manipulative charm, his deceptive promises, the subtle ways he eroded my will until I became a pliable instrument in his hands. I knew the signs, the patterns, the inevitable trajectory of our doomed entanglement. This time, I wouldn't be blind. This time, I would break the cycle. A grizzled, older woman, her face a roadmap of wrinkles, shuffled into the room, carrying a steaming bowl. Her scent was faint, diluted by age and herbal poultices, but undeniably that of a wolf. She was the pack's elder, a keeper of traditions and healer of ailments. She had been present in so many of my beginnings, her gentle hands easing me into this new existence. "Awake, little one?" Her voice rasped, soft as dry leaves. "You gave us quite a fright. Found you out by the river, cold as stone. Looks like your wolf just barely emerged." She extended the bowl, its contents smelling faintly of medicinal herbs and savory broth. "Drink this. It will strengthen you." I pushed myself up, wincing as a dull ache flared in my shoulders. My body felt weak, unfamiliar, still adjusting to the raw power that had coursed through me during my first transformation. The shift, the emergence of the inner wolf, was always a traumatic event, especially when it happened unexpectedly, as it had for me each time. I accepted the bowl, my fingers brushing against hers. Her touch was surprisingly warm, comforting. "Thank you, Elder Maeve," I murmured, my voice a little rough. I remembered her. In one life, she had taught me the intricate language of herbs. In another, she had been a confidant, privy to my unspoken sorrows. Now, she was simply a beacon of kindness in a world I desperately needed to navigate. As I sipped the nourishing broth, my mind raced, sifting through the fragmented memories of this particular life. I was Lyra. My human parents, gentle, unassuming souls, had believed me to be a late bloomer, my wolf dormant until now. I had grown up on the fringes of the Blackwood Pack territory, in a small, isolated hamlet, just as I had in several previous incarnations. This meant he would soon find me. The mate bond, a powerful, undeniable pull between fated souls, would awaken, drawing me to him like a moth to a dangerous flame. I had to be ready. I had to be strong. My plan began to formulate with cold, precise logic. I would resist the bond, or at least resist its psychological pull. I would keep my distance. I would feign weakness, feign disinterest, anything to avoid his predatory gaze, his insidious charm. I would train, secretly, building my strength, both physical and mental. I would find the true Alpha, the one fate truly intended for me, the one who existed outside of this cruel, repetitive curse. He had to be out there. He had to be. My survival depended on it. My freedom depended on it. A tremor ran through me, a mix of fear and exhilarating defiance. This time, I wouldn't just survive. This time, I would win. This time, I would break free. Days bled into weeks, each one a careful, calculated step in my silent rebellion. Elder Maeve nursed me back to full strength, her potions and poultices easing the lingering aches of my transformation. She taught me about the pack, its traditions, its complex hierarchy. I listened intently, absorbing every detail, comparing it against the fragments of memory from previous lives. The customs were subtly different. The faces of the minor pack members shifted, but the core structure, the unspoken rules, remained chillingly familiar. I learned that the current Alpha, my cursed mate, was named Alaric. His name sent a cold shiver down my spine. Alaric. The same powerful, charismatic name he always bore. My mind replayed snippets of past interactions, Alaric's booming laugh echoing in the great hall, the way his hand lingered on my arm, the possessive glint in his twilight eyes when another male dared to look my way. The memories were a bitter shield, protecting me from the primal pull I knew was coming. My wolf, newly awakened, was a restless, powerful presence within me. It pulsed with untamed energy, a wild creature straining against the fragile confines of my human form. It craved the open forest, the thrill of the chase, the intoxicating scent of its fated mate. This was the most dangerous part of the curse, the biological imperative that overrode all reason. The mate bond, once fully established, was a relentless siren song, whispering promises of belonging, completion, and an unbreakable connection. It made you want the wrong alpha, even when your rational mind screamed in protest. I had succumbed to it countless times. Not this time. Every morning, before the first tendrils of dawn stretched across the sky, I would slip out of the cabin, the crisp forest air a welcome sting on my face. My body, though still raw with the recent shift, possessed an innate strength, a latent power that I now consciously sought to unleash. I ran, my bare feet pounding against the soft earth, twigs and leaves crunching beneath me. I pushed my limits, focusing on speed, agility, and endurance. I didn't want to be caught unprepared again. In the secluded glades, bathed in the ethereal glow of moonlight or the soft blush of sunrise, I practiced shifting. The first few attempts were clumsy, agonizing. My bones felt as if they were grinding against each other. My skin stretched taut as I morphed into my lupine form. My wolf, a sleek, shadowy creature with eyes the color of molten gold, was smaller than Alaric's powerful beast, but swift and cunning. I focused on control, on seamless transitions, on mastering the primal urges that threatened to overwhelm my human consciousness. I practiced hunting, stalking imaginary prey, honing my senses until the rustle of a squirrel in the underbrush sounded like thunder, the scent of pine needles sharp and distinct. My greatest challenge, however, was suppressing the mate bond. It was a faint thrumming beneath my skin, a subtle magnetic pull in the direction of the pack's main territory, a persistent whisper of Alaric's powerful scent on the wind. I fought it with every fiber of my being, channeling my fear, my anger, my bitter memories into a wall of resistance. I focused on the pain of past betrayals, the agony of past deaths, turning the very memories that tormented me into my greatest defense. Elder Maeve, unknowingly, helped me. She saw my restlessness, my solitary habits, and interpreted it as the natural wildness of a newly shifted wolf. She encouraged my time in the forest, believing it was essential for my wolf to find its footing. "The woods teach lessons the pack house cannot, little one," she'd say, her eyes twinkling. "Listen to the whispers of the wind, the rustle of the leaves. They carry ancient wisdom." She had no idea the ancient wisdom I was truly seeking was how to outrun my own cursed fate. One afternoon, as I was honing my senses by tracking a deer through the dense undergrowth, a scent hit me. Not the intoxicating, dangerous scent of Alaric, but something else. Something powerful, wild, and utterly unfamiliar. It was a blend of rich, damp earth, petrichor after a summer rain, and something akin to lightning, crackling with untamed energy. It was the scent of a male wolf, strong and territorial, but utterly distinct from the oppressive familiarity of Alaric. My wolf stirred, a curious, hopeful ripple instead of the usual dread. My memories, a vast, jumbled library of past lives flickered. Had I ever encountered this scent before? I sifted through the countless encounters with Alaric, the brief, doomed flirtations with other males who never measured up. No? This was new. This was different. This was unfamiliar. A sudden surge of adrenaline coursed through me. Could this be him? The true Alpha? The one not tainted by the curse? Hope, bright and fragile, bloomed in my chest, pushing back against the shadows of dread. It was a desperate hope, a fleeting possibility, but I clung to it with fierce determination. I followed the scent, my movements silent, instinctive. It led me deeper into the forest, away from the established hunting paths of the Blackwood pack. The trees grew taller here, their branches interlacing overhead, forming a dense canopy that plunged the forest floor into perpetual twilight. The air grew colder, the silence deeper, broken only by the rustle of my own passage. I found him by a hidden waterfall, its waters cascading down moss-covered rocks, pooling into a crystalline pond. He was immense, a magnificent wolf, his fur the color of storm clouds, streaked with streaks of midnight black. His shoulders rippled with raw power, his muscles flexing beneath his sleek coat. He was drinking from the pond, his head lowered, completely unaware of my presence. His scent filled the air, potent and alluring, pulling at my wolf with an undeniable force. My heart hammered against my ribs, a frantic drumbeat. This was no ordinary wolf. This was an alpha, but not my alpha, not the one from my curse. I knew it with an intuitive certainty that vibrated through my very bones. His scent lacked the cloying, possessive undertones that always clung to Alaric. This was wildness, untamed power, but also a deep, quiet strength that felt safe. He lifted his head, his ears swiveling, and his eyes, startlingly bright, the color of ancient jade, locked onto mine. A thrill, purely elemental, shot through me. He had seen me, and in his gaze there was no recognition of a fated mate, no possessive glint, just a flicker of surprise, followed by a profound, assessing calm. He didn't move, didn't growl, simply watched me, his powerful body utterly still. This was it, the divergence, the potential to break the cycle. I had found him, the true Alpha. Now, I just had to convince my cursed fate to let me have him. The jaded Alpha held my gaze, an unsettling stillness emanating from his massive form. My wolf, usually restless and eager for confrontation, was surprisingly calm in his presence, a quiet hum of curiosity replacing its usual anxiety. There was no overwhelming, immediate magnetic pull, no dizzying sense of absolute rightness that always heralded the cursed mate bond. Instead, there was a quiet resonance, a deep, underlying harmony that felt vastly different from the frantic, demanding pull of Alaric's essence. This felt like a choice, not a compulsion. He stood, slowly, deliberately, his movements fluid and powerful, not aggressive, merely dominant. He was a force of nature, untamed and magnificent. I held my ground, my own wolf mirroring his stillness, recognizing the silent language of two apex predators meeting in the wild. He let out a low growl, a rumble that vibrated through the earth, not a threat, but a question. "Who are you?" My human mind struggled to form a coherent response, my throat tight. I hadn't prepared for this direct encounter. All my plans had been centered around avoiding Alaric, not finding someone else. Yet, here he was. "I am Lyra," I finally managed, my voice a little breathless, yet firm. "I mean no harm. I simply sensed your presence." His head tilted slightly, his jade eyes assessing. He took a tentative step forward, then another, closing the distance between us. I braced myself, half expecting a challenge, a claim, a growl of territoriality. Instead, he stopped a few feet away, his powerful head lowered slightly, his gaze unwavering. His scent, up close, was even more potent, a heady mix of damp earth, a faint hint of cedar, and that inexplicable crackle of raw lightning. It was the scent of the wild, untamed and pure. He circled me slowly, his heavy paws barely disturbing the mossy earth, his movements graceful despite his immense size. He sniffed the air around me, his nose twitching, taking in my scent, the faint, lingering traces of my recent transformation, the subtle notes of fear and defiance that still clung to me. My wolf remained quiet, observant, allowing his inspection. There was no aggression in his actions, only profound curiosity and a deep, assessing intelligence. Finally, he stopped directly in front of me, his massive head level with my chest. His jade eyes, ancient and wise, seemed to pierce through my human facade, seeing into the very core of my being, recognizing the wolf within. He let out a soft whine, a mournful sound that twisted something deep inside me. It was a sound of recognition, but not of a mate. It was a sound of understanding, of shared sorrow. He shifted. The transformation was swift, silent, and breathtakingly fluid. His immense body rippled, fur receding, bones reshaping, until a man stood before me. He was tall, incredibly muscular, his skin tanned from the sun. His hair was the same storm cloud gray as his fur, long and unbound, falling around a face that was ruggedly handsome, etched with lines of experience. And his eyes, still that striking jade, held a profound sadness that seemed to mirror my own unspoken grief. His scent, in human form, was less overpowering, but still carried that wild, earthy, lightning-charged essence. "Lyra," he rumbled, his voice deep, resonating with the echoes of his wolf. "Why are you here? You carry the scent of the Blackwood pack, yet you are not truly of them. And there is a sorrow in your eyes, an old grief that speaks of a pain I recognize." My breath hitched. He saw it. He understood. Not just the superficial details of my current life, but the deeper currents of my existence. The ancient burden I carried. He was perceptive in a way Alaric never was, never could be, blinded by his own arrogance and self-interest. I seek freedom," I confessed, the words tumbling out, raw and unbidden. "I am cursed, to always find the wrong Alpha, to be marked and then to die, only to begin again. And the Alpha of the Blackwood pack, Alaric, he is the wrong Alpha. I know him. I know what he will do." A tremor ran through my voice, the fear momentarily overwhelming my resolve. His jade eyes softened, a profound understanding dawning within them. "A cycle of fate, then? A torment born of ancient magic, perhaps?" He nodded slowly. "I have heard whispers of such things, legends passed down through generations, of souls bound to repeat mistakes until a true path is found. I am Xylos," he stated, his voice now gentle, yet firm. "Alpha of the Stonehaven pack. Our territory borders the Blackwood lands. We are known for our solitude, our respect for ancient ways, and our belief in destiny, but only when it aligns with truth. Xylos." The name felt right on my tongue, resonant and strong. Stonehaven. A pack renowned for its fierce independence, its deep connection to the earth. and its unwavering sense of justice. My memories of Stonehaven were vague, almost non-existent. In my past lives, I had always been drawn deeper into Blackwood territory, consumed by Alaric and his pack. This was a true divergence. "You are not marked," Xylos observed, his gaze falling to my neck, where the mate mark would eventually appear, sealing my fate. "Not yet." "That is good. There is still hope for you, Lyra. Hope to forge a new path." "But the bond," I whispered, despair creeping into my voice. "It is already beginning to pull me. I can feel him. His scent is everywhere. How do I fight something so primal, so ingrained in my very being?" Xylos reached out a large, strong hand, not to touch me, but to gesture towards the cascading waterfall. "The bond is a song, Lyra. A powerful melody. But there are other songs in the world. The psalm of the earth beneath your feet, the psalm of the wind through the pines, the psalm of your own wolf's true heart. You must learn to listen to those songs, to find the harmony that is meant for you, not the discordant rhythm of a misplaced destiny." He looked at me, his jade eyes holding a depth of empathy that brought tears to my own. "Come, Lyra. Stay with the Stonehaven pack, if you wish. We offer no easy answers, no magic remedies for ancient curses, but we offer sanctuary. We offer training. We offer solitude. We will help you find your true psalm, and perhaps break this cycle once and for all. If your true mate lies beyond the curse, then it is within your power to find him. We will help you become strong enough to do so." The offer was unexpected, profound. Sanctuary, training, solitude, everything I needed to fight this relentless curse. My wolf stirred within me, not with the frenzied pull of a fated mate, but with a deep sense of belonging, a quiet certainty that this was the right path, the path of healing, of self-discovery, of genuine freedom. "Yes," I breathed, the word a fervent prayer, a desperate hope. "Yes, Xylos, I will come. I will fight. I will find my true psalm." And in that moment, standing by the hidden waterfall, beneath the watchful gaze of the jaded Alpha, I felt a flicker of hope, the first true hope I had felt in countless lifetimes. The fight was far from over, but for the first time, I felt like I had a chance. Life within the Stonehaven pack was a stark contrast to the volatile, hierarchical existence I remembered in Alaric's domain. Here, nestled deep within ancient forests that whispered secrets of forgotten ages, there was a profound sense of quiet strength and interconnectedness. The pack members were fewer in number than Blackwood, but their bonds felt deeper, forged not just by blood, but by shared principles. They valued wisdom over brute force, respect for nature over territorial expansion, and individuality within the collective. Xylos, as their alpha, ruled not through intimidation, but through a calm authority, a deep well of ancient wisdom that emanated from his very being. His presence was like a steady, unwavering flame, guiding rather than demanding. My sanctuary within Stonehaven was a small, secluded cabin, even call, more rustic than Elder Maeve's. Tucked away near the northern borders of their territory, it offered the solitude I desperately needed, a quiet space for introspection and relentless training. Xylos himself became my primary mentor, overseeing my progress with a watchful, patient gaze. He understood the unique nature of my plight, the insidious pull of the mate bond to Alaric that still thrummed beneath my skin, a constant, unwelcome vibration. "The bond is a river, Lyra," Xylos explained one morning as we practiced sparring in the muted light of the forest glade. His movements were fluid, powerful, his massive frame belying a surprising agility. My own wolf, still adapting to the refined control he taught, felt both exhilarated and frustrated by the challenge. It seeks the path of least resistance. To divert it, you must build new channels. Strengthen the banks of your own will. Learn to flow in a different direction. He taught me discipline, not just of the body, but of the mind. Our training was rigorous, pushing my physical limits further than I had ever gone in past lives. He taught me advanced shifting techniques, allowing me to transition between human and wolf forms with effortless grace, my bones reshaping with barely a whisper. He showed me how to harness my wolf's raw power, to channel its instincts into precise, controlled movements. I learned ancient fighting forms, techniques passed down through generations of Stonehaven alphas, fluid dances of strength and agility that turned my body into a weapon. But more importantly, Xylos taught me mental fortitude. He guided me through meditative exercises, helping me to quiet the intrusive whispers of the mate bond, to separate its primal urges from my own conscious desires. He encouraged me to explore my memories, not as torment, but as lessons. "You carry the wisdom of many lives, Lyra," he would say, his jade eyes piercing. "Do not let the pain define them. Let the knowledge empower them. Every mistake made, every betrayal endured, is a lesson learned. Let those lessons be your armor against the repetition." I spent hours in solitude, meditating by the waterfall where I had first found him, letting the roar of the cascading water drown out the insistent hum of the bond to Alaric. I focused on the vibrant scents of the Stonehaven forest, the cool touch of ancient moss, the steady rhythm of my own breath. I sought out the individual scent of my wolf, distinct from the echoes of past lives, distinct from the pervasive scent of the cursed Alpha. I found a new core within me, a growing sense of self that was independent of any fated pairing. My wolf, which had been so restless and yearning for a mate in the beginning, began to find solace in Xylos's calm presence, in the structured discipline of the training, and in the profound peace of the Stonehaven territory. It still felt the distant pull of Alaric's essence, a frustrating, almost annoying tug, but it was no longer an overwhelming compulsion. My conscious mind, fortified by Xylos's guidance and my own burgeoning strength, could now distinguish between the genuine needs of my wolf and the deceptive allure of the curse. The river of the bond was indeed being diverted, its currents weakening, its banks strengthening. The other members of the Stonehaven pack, initially cautious, gradually accepted me. They were a tight-knit community, their loyalty to Xylos unwavering. They observed my dedication, my quiet strength, and perhaps sensed the ancient struggle I was engaged in. There was a quiet, almost reverent respect in their interactions with me, an understanding that I was a guest on a unique quest. I learned their names, their stories, their quiet traditions. There was Orion, the quiet, wise beta, his fur the color of twilight, who taught me how to read the subtle signs of the forest. There was Luna, a fierce huntress with eyes like polished obsidian, who pushed me to master my agility in the chase. Their support, unspoken but tangible, became another layer of strength against the encroaching shadow of my fate. However, the peace of Stonehaven was not absolute. The borders with Blackwood were closely monitored. Blackwood was known for its aggressive expansion, its alpha, Alaric, renowned for his ruthless ambition. Whispers from the border patrols grew more frequent. Small incursions, subtle provocations, a testing of boundaries. Alaric was becoming more active, more assertive, and I knew, with a chilling certainty, that his growing restlessness was intrinsically linked to the weakening of the mate bond on my end. He would sense the void, the shift in energy, and he would seek out its source. He would seek me. One evening, as the first stars began to prick the velvet sky, I was meditating by the waterfall, focusing on repelling the bond, picturing it as a silken thread slowly fraying and dissolving. Suddenly, a jolt, sharp and undeniable, ripped through me. It wasn't the usual subtle thrum of the mate bond, but a powerful primal summons. Alaric's scent, overpowering and aggressive, flooded my senses, momentarily overwhelming the pure forest air. It was accompanied by a booming howl, a territorial roar that echoed through the valleys, chilling my blood. He was here. Or close, very close. My heart hammered against my ribs, a frantic drumbeat of dread and exhilaration. All my training, all my preparation, was about to be put to the ultimate test. My wolf bristled, a mixture of fear and defiance coursing through it. The cursed bond flared, a painful lurch in my gut, demanding that I respond, demanding that I run to him. But this time, I had a choice. This time, I had Xylos, and the quiet strength of Stonehaven. I stood, my body trembling slightly, but my resolve firm. I would not answer his summons. I would not run to him. I would meet him, if I had to, on my own terms. I shifted, my bones grinding, fur sprouting, muscles coiling, until I stood as a sleek, golden-eyed wolf, ready for the confrontation. My senses sharpened, the night air alive with scents and sounds. Alaric's roar came again, closer this time, laced with a predatory impatience. He was searching. He would find me. And this time, he would find a different Lyra. I turned and ran, not to Alaric, but towards the heart of Stonehaven territory, towards Xylos, towards the pack that had offered me sanctuary. The path was difficult, treacherous, but my newly honed senses guided me through the dense undergrowth. The wind carried the tantalizing promise of Alaric's scent, trying to lure me astray, but I resisted, focusing on the earthy, lightning-charged essence of Xylos, a steadfast anchor in the swirling chaos. The inevitable clash was coming, and I was, finally, ready to face it. The air crackled with a primal tension as I raced through the deepening twilight of the Stonehaven forest, Alaric's booming summons echoing behind me. My wolf pulsed with a tumultuous mix of raw defiance and the frustrating, insistent pull of the make bond. Every instinct screamed at me to run, to submit, to find the source of that overwhelming scent that had once been so intoxicating. But the lessons from Xylos, the memory of countless past lives, held firm. I would not be consumed by the curse again. I ran towards the main den of Stonehaven, towards the heart of the pack that had given me refuge. Xylos's scent grew stronger, a grounding presence that calmed the frantic beat of my heart. As I burst into a clearing near the central fire pit, where the pack usually gathered, I saw him. Xylos stood amidst his wolves, a powerful, unwavering silhouette against the flickering firelight, his storm cloud fur bristling. His jade eyes, sharp and alert, scanned the perimeter. His pack, a formidable circle of wolves, stood ready, their hackles raised, their growls low and rumbling, a unified wall of defense. My appearance momentarily drew their attention. Xylos's gaze met mine, a silent acknowledgement passing between us. He saw the terror in my eyes, but also the defiance, the refusal to surrender. He nodded, a slight, almost imperceptible gesture, and the understanding that flowed between us was deeper than any spoken word. Then, a thunderous crash from the tree line, followed by a chorus of aggressive snarls, announced Alaric's arrival. He burst into the clearing, followed by a handful of his elite Blackwood warriors, their fur sleek and dark, their eyes glinting with predatory malice. Alaric, in his wolf form, was immense, a towering beast of pure, unadulterated power. His black fur seeming to absorb the light, his eyes, the color of twilight, immediately locked onto me, a possessive, predatory gleam within them. His scent, cloying and overwhelming, permeated the air, attempting to assert dominance, to re-establish the bond he felt slipping away. "There you are, little mate." Alaric's deep, guttural voice resonated in the clearing, a voice that in past lives had filled me with warmth, now only evoked chilling dread. "Trying to run from your destiny? From me?" Xylos stepped forward, placing himself subtly between Alaric and me, his posture radiating a calm, unyielding authority. His own wolf, though slightly smaller than Alaric's, was no less formidable, its power deeply rooted, ancient. "This wolf is under Stonehaven protection, Alaric," Xylos stated, his voice a low growl, devoid of fear. "She is a guest here. You have no claim on her." Alaric let out a derisive snarl, his lips peeling back to reveal sharp, glistening fangs. "No claim? She is my fated mate, Xylos. I can feel it. The bond calls to me. She belongs with me, where she is destined to be, to bolster my pack, to strengthen my line." His gaze, however, flickered to my side, a confused frustration in his eyes, as he seemingly struggled to reconcile the overwhelming pull he felt towards me with my refusal to yield. He couldn't comprehend my defiance, because in all his experience, a fated mate never resisted. "The bond may call," Xylos countered, his voice unwavering, "but choice remains. She chooses her path, she chooses her pack, and she chooses to be free of a bond that brings her pain." A cold fury ignited in Alaric's eyes. "This is an insult, Xylos, a challenge to my authority, to the very laws of our kind. You shelter a rogue, a runaway. Step aside, or face the consequences of interfering with a fated mate bond." His tail lashed, sending dust scattering, and his warriors shifted restlessly, their snarls growing louder. "A mate bond built on coercion is no bond at all, Alaric," Xylos retorted, his voice rising, resonating with a quiet power that seemed to ripple through the clearing, pushing back against Alaric's aggressive dominance. "She seeks freedom from a curse you seem blind to. Stonehaven does not bow to false claims or predatory demands. She is under my protection." The words hung in the air, thick with unspoken challenge. Alaric lowered his head, his massive shoulders tensing, his eyes fixed on Xylos. The unspoken declaration of war hung between the two alphas. I watched, my heart pounding, but a strange sense of clarity settled over me. This was it, the confrontation I had both dreaded and yearned for. This was the moment I broke free, or died trying. But this time, I wasn't alone. I had Xylos, a true alpha who understood sacrifice and genuine protection. I had the strength of the Stonehaven pack, who stood as one behind their leader. And I had my own burgeoning power, honed by weeks of relentless training. Alaric lunged, not at me, but at Xylos, a blur of black fur and snarling fury. His warriors followed, engaging the Stonehaven wolves. The clearing erupted into a maelstrom of growls, snarls, and the sickening thud of bodies colliding. the air filled with the scent of fear, aggression, and the metallic tang of fresh blood. My instincts screamed at me to join the fray, to protect Xylos, who had so selflessly defended me. But Xylos's words echoed in my mind. You must find your true song. My fight wasn't just physical, it was spiritual. It was about severing the last vestiges of the cursed bond. I shifted, my golden-eyed wolf taking form, muscles coiled, teeth bared. I moved with a speed and agility that surprised even myself, darting around the edges of the main confrontation. My target wasn't Alaric's warriors. My target was Alaric himself. Not to fight him head-on, not yet, but to sever the cursed connection that still sought to bind me. Alaric, locked in a brutal dance with Xylos, was a whirlwind of teeth and claws. Xylos fought with a quiet, devastating efficiency, deflecting blows, countering with precise strikes. They were perfectly matched, alpha against alpha, their clash shaking the very earth beneath them. I saw my opening. Alaric, distracted by Xylos's relentless pressure, momentarily exposed his flank. I darted forward, a golden blur. My wolf's senses honed in on the focal point of the mate bond, the invisible thread that still connected us. It was a searing point of light, a phantom mark on my soul. I channeled every ounce of my defiance, every memory of past suffering, into a single, desperate intention. With a primal snarl, I launched myself, not to bite, but to tear at the invisible tether. I clawed at the air, channeling raw willpower, imagining the bond as a tangible cord. A searing pain, sharp and agonizing, tore through my chest, mirroring a phantom sensation in Alaric's own flank. He bellowed, a roar of shock and unexpected agony, momentarily breaking his focus from Xylos. In that split second of Alaric's distraction, Xylos seized his opportunity. With a powerful strategic move, he slammed into Alaric's side, knocking the larger Alpha off balance, sending him sprawling to the ground. The Blackwood warriors, seeing their Alpha fall, hesitated, their aggression faltering. Alaric scrambled back to his feet, panting, his eyes blazing with a mixture of fury and confusion as he looked at me. The bond, which had been so powerfully active moments before, now felt thin, stretched, like a violin string about to snap. The agony had been sharp, but brief, and now, for the first time in countless lives, I felt a profound lightness, a sense of detachment from him. It wasn't completely gone, not yet, but it was dissolving, fraying at the edges. You dare defy fate? Alaric snarled, his voice a ragged whisper of disbelief and rage. I dare to choose my own, I replied, my voice clear and strong, resonating with a power that surprised even myself. My wolf stood taller, more confident. The curse, after so many lifetimes, was finally breaking. I could feel it. The cold, pervasive dread that had shadowed my every reincarnation was slowly receding, replaced by a surge of pure, unadulterated freedom. The fight was far from over, but the most crucial battle, the battle for my soul, was being won. Alaric scrambled back to his feet, his massive frame heaving, confusion warring with fury in his twilight eyes. He looked from Xylos to me, then back again, unable to reconcile the unprecedented defiance. The mate bond, which had always been an iron chain to him, was now a mere thread, fraying and dissolving. He roared, a sound of frustrated power, and launched himself at Xylos once more, a desperate attempt to reassert his dominance. But the momentum had shifted. The brief, agonizing severing of the cursed bond had drained Alaric, leaving him momentarily disoriented. Xylos, ever calm and strategic, met his charge with renewed strength, deflecting the attack with a powerful shoulder block. The Stonehaven wolves, seeing their alpha's advantage, pressed their attack against Alaric's shaken warriors. The clash was brutal, a symphony of snarls and growls, but the tide was turning. I stood apart from the immediate melee, my golden eyes fixed on Alaric. The last vestiges of the cursed bond still clung to me, faint and irritating, like a stubborn cobweb. I needed to finish it. My wolf bristled with a newfound purpose, unburdened by the usual compulsion. It felt free, focused, powerful. Alaric was a formidable fighter, but his rage blinded him, making him reckless. Xylos, disciplined and precise, exploited every opening. He moved with the grace of flowing water, dodging Alaric's powerful lunges, countering with swift, targeted strikes. Finally, with a blinding burst of speed, Xylos moved in, his teeth flashing, and bit down hard on Alaric's shoulder, a clear sign of dominance, of victory. Alaric howled, a sound of pain and profound humiliation. His body crumpled, and he shifted back into human form, collapsing onto the damp earth, clutching his bleeding shoulder. He was defeated. Physically, undeniably defeated. His warriors, seeing their alpha brought low, immediately disengaged, their shoulders hunched, their eyes filled with fear. Xylos, still in his wolf form, stood over the prone Alaric, his massive chest heaving, but his jade eyes calm. He shifted back, his powerful body reforming into his human form. His face was grim, but there was no triumph, only a quiet, weary resolve. "This conflict ends now, Alaric," Xylos stated, his voice low and firm, resonating with alpha authority. "Your claim on Lyra is severed. Your aggression against Stonehaven is met. You will retreat, and you will not trouble these lands, or Lyra, again." Alaric glared up at me, his eyes burning with a venomous mix of hatred and disbelief. You will regret this, Lyra. You cannot defy destiny. The curse will find you. It will twist you until you beg for death. His words were filled with a desperate prophecy, a last-ditch effort to instill fear, to reassert control. My heart pounded, but I felt no fear from his words, only a profound sense of closure. "The curse is broken, Alaric," I stated, my voice clear and steady, devoid of emotion. "Because this time I remembered. This time I chose, and my choice is freedom." With those words, I felt the final snap, the last thread of the cursed bond dissolving completely. It was not a violent tearing, but a quiet unraveling, like a knot slowly loosening. A profound wave of lightness washed over me, an exhilarating sense of release that brought tears to my eyes. The weight of centuries of forced destinies, of predetermined heartbreak, lifted from my soul. I was truly, finally, free. Alaric seemed to feel it too. His eyes widened, a flicker of genuine shock, followed by a defeated emptiness. The connection, however twisted, was gone. He was no longer bound to me, nor I to him. His power, no longer tied to a fated mate, seemed to dim slightly. He averted his gaze, defeated. Xylos watched this silent exchange, his jade eyes observing the profound shift in energy between us. He understood. He saw the curse truly break. "Gather your wolves, Alaric," Xylos commanded, his voice firm, leaving no room for argument. "Return to your territory, and know this. Should you or any of your pack step foot on Stonehaven lands again, or attempt to approach Lyra, we will meet you with force you cannot imagine. The age of forced unions and predatory claims ends now. Respect the Ba." choice, or face the consequences. Alaric, humiliated and defeated, slowly pushed himself to his feet. His warriors, subdued and wary, gathered around him. With one last, lingering glare of impotent rage at me, he shifted, his black wolf a shadow of its former intimidating presence, and retreated into the darkness of the forest, his pack following in silent submission. The sounds of their departure faded into the night, leaving behind a profound stillness. The Stonehaven pack, battered but victorious, let out a collective sigh of relief, their growls softening into murmurs of mutual support. Orion, the beta, approached Xylos, his deep eyes reflecting respect. Luna, the huntress, gave me a rare, acknowledging nod. Xylos turned to me, his jade eyes soft, filled with a deep, understanding warmth. He reached out a hand, calloused and strong, and gently cupped my cheek. His touch sent a different kind of jolt through me, one of pure, unadulterated comfort and recognition, a resonant frequency that vibrated deep within my freed wolf. "You did it, Lyra," he said, his voice a low, profound rumble. "You broke the cycle. You found your true psalm." My wolf stirred within me, not with the compulsion of a fated mate, but with a deep, primal certainty. The bond that had been severed was the cursed one, but a new connection, subtle, yet incredibly powerful, was beginning to form. It was a bond built not on ancient magic or predetermined fate, but on shared understanding, mutual respect, and a profound sense of peace. It was the true mate bond. It had been there all along, waiting for the curse to be broken, waiting for me to be truly free. I looked into Xylos's jade eyes, seeing not a powerful alpha demanding submission, but a kind, strong soul who had championed my freedom, who had fought alongside me to break the chains of a tormented past. In his gaze, I saw my future, unwritten by fate, but chosen by heart. "My Alpha," I whispered, the words a joyous revelation, not a forced admission. My wolf sang within me, a melody of belonging, of completion, not of entrapment. Xylos's smile was gentle, profound. He pulled me into a soft yet firm embrace, and as his arms wrapped around me, a warmth spread through my entire being, a healing balm that soothed the scars of 1,000 lifetimes. It was the scent of damp earth, cedar, and lightning, now intertwined with my own, forming a perfect, harmonious melody. The cycle was broken. My true mate was found. And for the first time, I was truly, irrevocably home. The weeks that followed Alaric's defeat were a period of profound healing and exhilarating discovery. The physical wounds sustained during the skirmish mended swiftly, aided by Elder Maeve's potent remedies and the innate regenerative abilities of our kind. But it was the healing of the soul that truly transformed me. The phantom aches of 1,000 past betrayals, the haunting echoes of countless premature deaths, slowly began to recede, replaced by a profound lightness, a sense of liberation I had never known. The absence of the cursed bond was a palpable relief, like shedding a heavy, invisible cloak I had worn for millennia. My connection with Xylos, however, grew stronger with each passing day. It was a bond unlike any I had experienced in my previous cursed existences. There was no overwhelming, possessive surge, no immediate erasure of my individuality. Instead, it was a gentle unfolding, a deep resonance of souls that felt natural, unforced, and utterly beautiful. His presence was a comforting hum beneath my skin, a quiet certainty that resonated with my very core. My wolf, once restless and yearning, was now content, purring with a deep, settled joy in his presence. It was a bond built on understanding, respect, and a shared vision of a future unburdened by a predetermined toxic fate. We spent hours together, walking the ancient trails of Stonehaven, the forest whispering secrets around us. Xylos shared stories of his pack, of their history rooted in respect for the land and the ancient ways. He spoke of his responsibilities as Alpha, not as a burden of power, but as a sacred trust, a duty to protect and guide. He listened intently as I recounted fragments of my past lives, the different names, the varied circumstances, the chilling consistency of the curse. He offered no pity, only a deep, empathetic understanding and practical advice on how to integrate these memories, not as a burden, but as a source of wisdom. Each life was a lesson, Lyra, he would say, his jade eyes wise and steady. Each experience, however painful, etched a deeper understanding into your soul. You are not defined by the curse, but by your perseverance against it, by your choice to break free. That makes you stronger than any alpha, more resilient than any legend. My training with Xylos continued, but it shifted in focus. It was no longer about fighting against a predetermined destiny, but about embracing my true potential. He taught me about harnessing the unique strengths of my golden-eyed wolf, its speed, its cunning, its unwavering loyalty. He showed me how to lead, how to protect, how to connect with the pack on a deeper spiritual level. I learned to understand the nuanced language of pack dynamics, the subtle shifts in energy, the unspoken communications between wolves. The Stonehaven pack embraced me fully, no longer as a guest, but as an integral part of their family. Orion, the beta, became a steadfast friend, his quiet wisdom a grounding presence. Luna, the fierce huntress, became my sparring partner, pushing me to new heights of agility and combat prowess. The children of the pack, initially shy, would now approach me with wide-eyed curiosity, asking about my golden fur and the stories of the world beyond Stonehaven. I found joy in teaching them, in sharing my experiences, in becoming a part of this vibrant, interconnected community. Alaric, as far as we knew, had retreated. Whispers from our border patrols confirmed his withdrawal, his pack subdued and licking its wounds. The shift in power, the undeniable defeat he suffered at Xylos's hands, combined with the severance of the cursed mate bond, had undoubtedly wounded his pride and diminished his aura of invincibility. His silence, however, was a constant, unsettling presence, a reminder that while the immediate threat had receded, the echoes of the curse might still linger. Xylos remained vigilant, increasing patrols along the Blackwood border, always prepared for any renewed aggression. He understood that a wounded alpha was often a dangerous one, capable of unexpected desperation. One clear night, under the full moon, as the Stonehaven pack gathered for their ritual hunt, a profound sense of belonging washed over me. I ran alongside Xylos, our wolves moving in perfect synchronization, a powerful, harmonious blend of speed and strength. The thrill of the hunt, the primal joy of the chase, filled me with an exhilarating sense of purpose. As we returned to the den, successful and satiated, I looked at Xylos, his storm-cloud fur gleaming under the moonlight, his jade eyes radiating warmth and contentment. And in that moment, our souls resonated, a silent agreement passing between us. Xylos lowered his head, a gesture of profound respect and devotion, and then, his teeth gently closed around the scruff of my neck, a soft, loving bite that sent a jolt of pure ecstasy through me. It wasn't the violent, possessive mock of the cursed mate. It was the true mate mark, a gentle yet undeniable seal of our bond, freely given and eagerly accepted. A wave of warmth spread from the mark, filling every cell of my body, intertwining my essence with his. It was a feeling of absolute completion, of finally finding the missing piece of my soul. There was no loss of self, no erosion of will, only an amplification of who I was, intertwined with the strength and love of Xylos. My wolf sang within me, a joyous, triumphant howl that echoed the profound peace in my heart. The mark, when I touched it, felt like a burning ember, a permanent testament to our connection. Xylos shifted, his gaze filled with a profound tenderness. "My Lyra," he whispered, his voice thick with emotion. "My true mate. My life." I wrapped my arms around him, burying my face in his neck, inhaling his familiar, comforting scent, now irrevocably intertwined with my own. "My Xylos," I murmured, tears of overwhelming joy streaming down my face. "My Alpha, my home." The moon, full and benevolent, seemed to shine brighter over Stonehaven that night. The pack celebrated, their howls echoing the joyous union of their alpha with his chosen mate. The curse was not just broken, it was obliterated. My past lives, once a tormenting cycle of suffering, were now distant echoes, their lessons absorbed, their pain transformed into strength. I had found my true destiny, not in the relentless pursuit of a preordained fate, but in the courage to defy it, in the strength to choose, and in the profound, unexpected love that blossomed from an act of selfless and sanctuary. My journey had been long, marked by sorrow and struggle, but it had led me, finally, to a true beginning. This life was truly, completely my own. The integration into Stonehaven was seamless, a testament to the pack's welcoming nature and Xylos's unwavering leadership. My past, once a haunting shadow, became a shared history. I revealed the full breadth of my memories, the intricate details of each cursed life, to Xylos, Elder Maeve, and a small trusted circle of pack elders. They listened with solemn faces, their ancient wisdom recognizing the deep magic and profound torment of my cycle. Elder Maeve, her eyes filled with a compassionate understanding, spoke of ancient lore, of powerful, forgotten curses that sometimes clung to bloodlines or fated pairs, twisting destiny into a cruel parody. She had never encountered a case as potent and persistent as mine, yet her belief in the power of true choice, of genuine love, reinforced her conviction that I had indeed broken free. My bond with Xylos continued to deepen, revealing new layers of connection. It wasn't merely a primal attraction, but a profound intellectual and spiritual partnership. We spent hours discussing pack strategies, resources, and the delicate balance of power in the region. My unique perspective, gleaned from centuries of observation and diverse experiences across various pack structures and human societies, proved invaluable. I offered insights into the Blackwood Pack's traditional tactics, the vulnerabilities of their current leadership, and the subtle shifts in human technology and expansion that could impact our secluded existence. Xylos valued my input, not as a subordinate, but as an equal, a true partner in leadership. "Your past is your strength, Lyra," he often reminded me, his hand resting reassuringly on my shoulder. "You have seen the mistakes of others, the pitfalls of unchecked ambition, the consequences of ignoring the true needs of a pack. That foresight is a rare and precious gift." My role within Stonehaven gradually evolved. While I still trained daily with Luna, honing my physical prowess and spent time in solitary contemplation by the waterfall, I also began to contribute in new ways. With Elder Maeve's guidance, I delved into the ancient art of healing, blending my fragmented memories of traditional remedies with her deep knowledge of local flora. My past as Briar, the healer, resurfaced, allowing me to instinctively understand the properties of herbs and the subtle energies of the body. I assisted Maeve in tending to the pack's sick and injured, my touch imbued with a gentle certainty that brought comfort and relief. The gratitude in their eyes, the trust they placed in my hands, was a powerful affirmation of my new purpose. My relationship with the pack's children, too, became a source of immense joy. They were drawn to my presence, perhaps sensing the ancient wisdom within me, or simply charmed by my patient storytelling. I would recount tales of my travels, adventures in different guises, always careful to omit the painful parts, focusing instead on lessons learned, on courage, on the beauty of the natural world. I taught them games of stealth and agility, drawing upon my past lives as a hunter and scout. Their unburdened laughter, echoing through the forest, was a melody that soothed the lingering echoes of past sorrows. However, the peace of Stonehaven was not entirely undisturbed. While Alaric hadn't launched a direct assault, his presence still loomed. Border patrols reported increased rogue activity, isolated incidents of theft or aggression, subtly stirring unrest in the territories surrounding Stonehaven. It was a passive-aggressive war, designed to destabilize, to sow fear, to chip away at our resources and reputation without provoking an open conflict. Alaric, I knew, was cunning. He was using proxies, exploiting the desperation of unaligned wolves, perhaps hoping to force Xylos into an untenable position. One evening, a young Stonehaven hunter, Cale, returned from patrol, his face pale, his breath ragged. He reported a terrifying encounter. A pack of vicious rogues, larger and more organized than usual, had ambushed him near the old logging road, dangerously close to Stonehaven territory. He barely escaped with his life, sustaining deep gashes on his flank. Their scent, he reported, was strangely familiar, a subtle undertone beneath the common stench of desperation. Xylos immediately sensed the unspoken implication. "Alaric," he growled, his voice a low rumble. "He is testing us, trying to provoke a response without showing his hand directly." My mind raced, sifting through the archives of my memories. In one life, Alaric had used a similar tactic, orchestrating chaos on the fringes, weakening his enemies before a decisive strike. He was predictable in his cunning. "He wants to draw us out, Xylos," I asserted, my voice firm. "He wants to drain our resources, scatter our patrols. He wants us isolated before he strikes directly. We must not fall for it." Xylos nodded, his jade eyes sharp with thought. "You are right. We will not be baited. But we cannot allow these rogues to destabilize the region either. They are a threat to innocent humans and wolves alike." We devised a strategy. Instead of engaging the rogues directly in their ambush points, we would set up our own counter-ambushes, using Stonehaven's intimate knowledge of the terrain to our advantage. We would target their supply lines, their hidden camps, cutting off their resources and disrupting their coordination. The goal was not annihilation, but disruption and deterrence. We would show them that Stonehaven was not easily provoked, but fiercely protective of its borders and its peace. I led some of the patrols, my senses heightened, my understanding of rogue tactics surprisingly intuitive, thanks to the memories of my hunter life as Wren. We moved like shadows through the dense forest, swift and silent. Our strikes were quick, decisive. We raided a hidden supply cache, scattering the rogues and confiscating their meager provisions. We disrupted a planned ambush, turning the hunters into the hunted. Each encounter further affirmed Xylos' trust in my judgment and strengthened my own confidence in my abilities. During one such patrol, deep within the winding ravines that bordered an unclaimed stretch of forest, I came across something chilling. It wasn't just a rogue camp, it was a makeshift training ground. There were crude targets, scratch marks on trees, and, most disturbingly, fresh bloodstains from recent, aggressive training exercises. And woven into the generic scent of the rogues, undeniable now, was the subtle metallic tang of Blackwood Pack's unique musk, a scent I knew intimately from Alaric. He was not just subtly influencing them. He was actively training them, shaping them into a weapon. My heart hammered with a cold fury. He hadn't given up. He was still trying to twist fate, to find a way back into my life, to destabilize the peace I had fought so hard for. But this time, his insidious schemes were transparent. This time, I saw his true face, stripped of its deceptive charm. I returned to Xylos, laying out my findings with a grim resolve. He is bolder than we thought, Xylos. He's not just using them, he's orchestrating them. These rogues are his proxies, his shadow army. Xylos listened, his jaw tight. Then we must be bolder still. He seeks to undermine our stability, to create chaos. We will respond with order, with unity, and with an undeniable show of strength. Not just brute force, Lyra, but, quote, strategic power. We planned a decisive action. Not a full-scale war, but a demonstration of force that would send an unambiguous message. We would gather the full strength of the Stonehaven Pack, not for an attack, but for a highly visible, coordinated patrol along the entire length of the Blackwood border, pushing deep into the disputed territories that Alaric's rogues had been using as their staging grounds. It would be a silent, yet undeniable, declaration. Stonehaven was strong, united, and unafraid. We would reclaim the peace, not by bloodshed, but by a powerful assertion of our presence. The time for subtle skirmishes was over. The time for a clear, definitive statement had arrived. The air on the morning of the demonstration patrol was crisp and cold, carrying the sharp scent of pine and anticipation. The entire Stonehaven Pack gathered at the edge of their territory, a formidable assembly of wolves, their fur rippling in the pale dawnlight. There was a quiet intensity in their stances, a shared sense of purpose that resonated deep within me. This was Xylos' strength, his ability to unite his pack not through fear, but through a profound sense of shared responsibility and unwavering loyalty. Xylos stood at the forefront, his storm-cloud fur bristling with controlled power, his jade eyes scanning the faces of his pack. He shifted, his powerful human form emanating a calm authority that settled the restless energy of the wolves. "Today," he began, his voice deep and resonant, carrying across the clearing. "We walk our borders not in aggression, but in assertion. We show that Stonehaven stands strong, united, and unwavering. We reclaim the peace that has been disturbed. We remind those who seek to sow chaos that true strength lies not in domination, but in protection and unity." He turned to me, his gaze softening momentarily. "Lyra, you will lead the vanguard with Orion. Your senses, honed by experience, will guide us. Your presence, a testament to our resolve." A surge of pride, mixed with a familiar thrill of challenge, coursed through me. To lead, not as a victim of fate, but as a valued member of a true pack, beside my true mate. This was the embodiment of my newfound freedom. We shifted, our bodies morphing with practiced ease. My golden-eyed wolf, sleek and swift, felt powerful beneath the pale morning sun. Orion, his twilight fur a comforting presence beside me, gave a low, affirming rumble. The patrol moved like a silent, formidable wave through the forest, deeper than we had ever ventured before. Our numbers were significant, our movements coordinated, a living wall of deterring strength. We left unmistakable signs of our passage, clear, deep paw prints in the soft earth, strategically placed scent markers from Xylos, a silent declaration of our presence in what Alaric had considered his exclusive krat, Shadow Domain. As we approached the makeshift training ground I had discovered weeks earlier, the scent of fear, recent and potent, filled the air. The rogues, no doubt observing our overwhelming numbers, had already fled. The camp was abandoned, left in disarray, a testament to their hasty retreat. We dismantled their crude targets, scattered their meager provisions, and marked the territory unequivocally as stone havens. There was no need for violence, only a powerful assertion of presence. The climax of our demonstration came as we reached the very edge of Blackwood territory, overlooking a wide, open valley that historically served as a no-man's land between our packs. There, silhouetted against the morning light, were several Blackwood sentinels, watching us with wary, tense postures. They were fewer in number, and their stance was defensive, not aggressive. Alaric himself was not among them, a clear sign of his diminished status, or perhaps his strategic withdrawal. Xylos stepped forward, his powerful wolf form emanating a calm, unyielding dominance that rippled through the valley. He let out a single powerful howl, not a challenge of aggression, but a deep, resonant declaration of territory, of strength, of unity. It echoed through the trees, carrying a message that was undeniable. Stonehaven is here. Stonehaven is strong, and Stonehaven protects its own. The Blackwood sentinels, clearly understanding the message, whimpered and retreated, melting back into the shadows of their own lands. The demonstration was a resounding success. No blood was shed, but a clear boundary had been re-established. A message delivered with the full weight of Stonehaven's united force. The peace was not just reclaimed, it was firmly asserted. In the aftermath, the fear of Alaric and his proxy rogues slowly dissipated from the surrounding territories. Other smaller packs, who had suffered under Alaric's aggressive expansion and manipulation, began to look to Stonehaven with newfound respect. Some even sought alliances, seeking the stability and justice that Xylos's pack embodied. Stonehaven's influence, born not of conquest but of principled strength, began to spread, creating a more harmonious and interconnected network of packs in the region. My life with Xylos settled into a rhythm of profound contentment. Our bond deepened with each passing day, intertwining our souls in a tapestry of mutual respect, shared purpose, and unwavering love. We often discussed the future, not just of Stonehaven, but of the wider werewolf community. We dreamed of a world where conflicts were resolved not through brutal dominance, but through diplomacy, where mate bonds were celebrated as true connections of the heart, not forced destinies or tools of power. One quiet evening, as we sat by the fire in our cabin, the scent of cedar and wood smoke filling the air, I leaned my head on Xylos's shoulder. The familiar hum of our bond resonated through me, a warm, constant comfort. I thought of all the lives I had lived, the pain, the betrayals, the endless cycle of despair. And now, this profound peace, this deep, abiding love. Do you ever wonder about him, Lyra? Xylos asked softly, his voice cutting through my thoughts. "Alaric, do you think he ever understood what he lost?" I considered his question, sifting through the distant echoes of my past. The man, the Alpha, who had been my curse. His charisma, his power, had always been overshadowed by his profound inability to truly connect, to see beyond his own desires. He was trapped in his own cycle, one of self-interest and, quote, domination. "He never truly saw me, Xylos," I replied, my voice calm, devoid of bitterness. "He saw a fated mate, a tool to enhance his power, a possession. He never saw Lyra, or Wren, or Briar. He was too blind to see the true gift of the bond, the choice, the freedom it could represent. He didn't lose me, Xylos. He lost the opportunity for genuine connection. And that, I believe, is a fate far more cruel than any curse I endured." Xylos squeezed my hand, his jade eyes warm and understanding. "And you, my Lyra, found it. You found your true self, and in doing so, you found your true mate. The cycle is truly broken." I smiled, a deep, genuine smile that reached my eyes, reflecting the contentment in my heart. The curse was a distant memory, a painful but invaluable lesson. My past, once a torment, was now a foundation for a future I had chosen, a future I would build with Xylos free, with Stonehaven, bound not by fate's cruel hand, but by the unbreakable ties of true love and unwavering choice. My journey had been long, fraught with hardship, but it had led me home, finally and irrevocably, to a destiny I had chosen for myself, a destiny of profound, enduring peace. My heart soared free and unbound, ready for all the lives still waiting to unfold, each one chosen, each one truly mine. The quiet strength of Stonehaven continued to grow, its influence spreading like the ancient roots of the forest itself. Elias, now Lyra, alongside Xylos, embarked on a new endeavor, fostering interpack diplomacy. The old ways, where packs existed in isolated suspicion, were slowly giving way to a more interconnected community. My experiences from past lives, having witnessed the devastating consequences of pack warfare and unchecked territorial ambition, provided a unique and invaluable perspective. I championed the idea of regular interpack councils, where leaders could discuss shared challenges like dwindling prey, rogue incursions, and the ever-present threat of human encroachment. A growing alliance, the first council meeting was a tense affair, held in a neutral territory. A vast meadow nestled between Stonehaven, the smaller Willow Creek pack, and the larger, more militaristic Ironclaw pack. Their alpha, a stern, imposing male named Gorok, initially regarded me with suspicion, a stranger with a powerful mate and a past veiled in mystery. But Xylos's unwavering belief in me, coupled with my calm, reasoned arguments for cooperation, slowly began to chip away at his skepticism. Spoke of resource sharing, of coordinated patrols that reduced the burden on individual packs, and of a unified front against external threats. My words, though quiet, carried the weight of countless lifetimes of observation and lessons. Learned, Gorok, a pragmatist at heart, was eventually swayed by the logical benefits. The Willow Creek Alpha, a gentle female named Willow, embraced the idea wholeheartedly, eager for the stability and protection a larger alliance could offer. The initial meeting, fraught with unspoken tensions, ended with a tentative agreement to collaborate. a fragile new beginning. Over the ensuing months, these councils became a regular occurrence. I often accompanied Xylos, speaking as his equal, contributing actively to the discussions. My past life as a diplomat, though shrouded in the mists of forgotten human societies, lent an instinctive understanding of negotiation and persuasion. We established clear communication channels, shared intelligence on rogue movements, and even organized joint hunting expeditions that fostered trust and camaraderie between the packs. The success of these initiatives was undeniable. Rogue attacks dwindled, and a sense of shared purpose began to replace the old rivalries. Echoes of the past, despite the burgeoning peace, the shadow of Alaric still loomed. We received sporadic reports from distant territories. A rise in strange, cult-like gatherings, whispers of a charismatic figure promising ultimate power through ancient, forbidden rituals. While these reports were vague and unconfirmed, a chilling certainty settled in my heart. This was Alaric. He was not one to simply fade into obscurity. Defeat would only fuel his twisted ambition. He was undoubtedly seeking a way to reclaim his lost power, perhaps even to restore the cursed bond he believed was rightfully his. My sleep, which had been so peaceful since breaking the curse, occasionally began to be disturbed by fragmented, unsettling dreams. Not of my past deaths, but of a swirling darkness, a sense of immense, suffocating power. Xylos, always attuned to my subtle shifts in mood, noticed my unease. "Are you well, Lyra?" he would ask, his hand gently tracing the true mate mark on my neck. "Your wolf seems restless." "It's nothing," I would try to dismiss, not wanting to burden him with my lingering anxieties. But the dreams persisted, growing more vivid, more disturbing. They felt like echoes of a malevolent force, reaching out across distances, seeking a connection. A new threat emerges one moonless night. A terrified messenger from a small, unaffiliated pack arrived. At Stonehaven, his fur matted with fear, his eyes wide with horror. His pack had been obliterated, not by a territorial dispute, but by something far more sinister. He described a shadowy force, wolves whose eyes glowed with an unnatural, cold light, their movements accompanied by a strange, guttural chanting. They had slaughtered mercilessly, leaving nothing but devastation, and their leader, he gasped, was a powerful alpha with eyes like twilight, his voice resonating with an unholy power. Alaric. He had found a new, darker path to power. He hadn't just retreated. He had transformed, twisted by his desperate hunger for dominance and revenge. The true nature of the threat was now chillingly clear. He was no longer just a rival alpha. He was a dangerous, corrupted force, wielding forbidden magic. The news sent a ripple of dread through Stonehaven and the allied packs. This was not a typical conflict. This was something far more ancient and terrifying. Xylos, his jaw set grimly, immediately summoned an emergency council. "He has doubled in forces beyond our understanding," Xylos stated to the assembled alphas, his voice grave. "Forces that corrupt and destroy. We face a threat not just to our territories, but to the very balance of our world." I stepped forward, my voice steady despite the tremor of fear in my heart. "He is desperate, blind with rage. He seeks to reclaim what he believes was taken from him. He believes he can force destiny. This isn't just about revenge, it's about control, and the corrupting power of a curse he couldn't break himself." My eyes met Xylos's, and a silent understanding passed between us. The curse, even if broken for me, had found a new, twisted manifestation in Alaric. Confronting the darkness, the councils now focused on strategy to counter this unprecedented threat. Gorak of Ironclaw, initially cautious, was now fiercely resolute. He had seen the devastation Alaric wrought, and his pack was ready to fight. Willow of Willow Creek, though smaller, pledged her pack's full support. The alliance, forged in peace, was now tested by war. Our scouts reported on Alaric's movements. He was building his ranks, not through legitimate pack bonds, but by forcefully converting other wolves, twisting their wills with dark rituals, their eyes glowing with that same eerie, cold light. He was heading south, towards the sacred Greatwood, a place of immense spiritual power for all wolfkind. He clearly intended to harness its ancient magic for his twisted purposes. The final confrontation was inevitable. We gathered our combined forces, a formidable army of wolves from Stonehaven, Ironclaw, and Willow Creek, along with several smaller allied packs. Our objective was clear: intercept Alaric before he reached the Greatwood, and stop him before he could unleash an even greater catastrophe. The battleground was a vast, desolate plain, shrouded in a perpetual mist, far from any human settlement. Alaric's corrupted wolves, their forms grotesque and their movements jerky, met us with a chilling, synchronized roar. Their eyes, once warm with the spark of life, now glowed with an unnatural, malevolent light. Alaric himself stood at the center of their ranks, a figure of terrifying power, his black fur radiating an aura of dark energy. His eyes, the color of twilight, now seemed completely devoid of human warmth, replaced by a cold, burning malevolence. He had truly become the wrong Alpha. "Lyra!" Alaric's voice boomed across the plain, laced with triumph and twisted desire. "You cannot escape destiny. The bond calls for its true completion. Come to me and embrace the power that awaits you." My wolf bristled, but I felt no pull, no fear, only a burning resolve. The bond was truly broken. He was merely clinging to a phantom. Xylos shifted, his storm-cloud wolf immense and resolute, and let out a thundering roar that shook the very ground. "Your destiny is one of ruin, Alaric. This power you seek will consume you. Lyra chose freedom. This alliance chooses justice." The two forces collided in a maelstrom of fur, teeth, and snarls. The corrupted wolves fought with a frenzied, unnatural strength, their movements devoid of the natural grace of our kind. But our packs, united in purpose, fought with the strength of true bonds, of shared love and unwavering loyalty. Xylos, Gorak, and Willow led their packs with fearless courage, their combined might a formidable force. I fought beside Xylos, my golden-eyed wolf moving with a speed and precision born of centuries of experience and weeks of rigorous training. I focused on targeting the source of Alaric's corruption, his twisted magic. I remembered glimpses from my dream, the swirling darkness, the malevolent power emanating from him. I knew I had to reach him, not to fight him head-on, but to disrupt the very core of his newfound unholy strength. The final severing as the battle raged, Xylos engaged Alaric directly. Their clash was titanic, a symphony of brute force and dark magic against strategic power and true leadership. Alaric, fueled by his corrupted power, fought with a terrifying ferocity. But Xylos, unwavering, met his every blow, his jade eyes burning with righteous fury. I saw my opportunity. Alaric, focusing all his malevolent energy on Xylos, left himself momentarily vulnerable. With a surge of adrenaline, I darted forward, my senses pinpointing the source of his dark energy. A pulsating orb of corrupt power nestled deep within his chest, the very core of his twisted magic. It was the antithesis of the true mate bond, a perversion of power. With a primal snarl, I launched myself, not to attack his physical form, but to strike at that malevolent core. My teeth, imbued with the strength of my true mate bond to Xylos, aimed for the throbbing darkness within him. As my fangs sank into that corrupted energy, a scream tore from Alaric, a sound of agony and pure, unadulterated shock. The dark energy within him flickered, wavered, and then began to unravel. He staggered back, his eyes widening in disbelief, the unnatural glow fading from within them, replaced by a momentary flash of the Alaric I once knew, a glimpse of torment and regret before it was swallowed by pure, unadulterated terror. The corrupting power, unable to sustain itself, began to tear him apart from the inside. He shifted back to his human form, his body racked with convulsions, the dark energy consuming him, dissolving him into nothingness. His corrupted wolves, their unholy power severed from its source, collapsed, their eyes returning to normal, albeit filled with confusion and fear. The spell was broken. The battle ended as abruptly as it began, leaving behind a silence punctuated only by the heavy breathing of the victorious packs. Xylos stood over the spot where Alaric had vanished, his chest heaving, his jade eyes grim. He had won, but the cost of such dark power was clear. I stood beside him, my wolf panting, the phantom taste of dark magic lingering on my tongue. The curse was not just broken, its very source, its perversion of fate, had been utterly annihilated. There would be no more cycles, no more endless reincarnations of torment. The thread of destiny, once so cruelly twisted, was now truly, beautifully, and irrevocably unbound. A future unwritten, the aftermath was one of careful healing and profound change. The corrupted wolves, freed from Alaric's spell, were brought back to the allied territories. Through the combined efforts of Elder Maeve and the healers from other packs, their minds were gradually purged of the dark influence, their spirits gently guided back to their true nature. Many of them chose to join the allied packs, finding a true sense of belonging and community they had never known under Alaric's tyrannical rule. The alliance of packs, forged in the crucible of conflict, grew stronger and more cohesive. Xylos, recognized for his wise leadership and unwavering courage, became a revered figure among all wolfkind in the region. He and I, as Alpha and Luna, worked tirelessly to build a future based on mutual respect, cooperation, and true justice. We established a system of shared resources, cultural exchanges, and joint patrols that ensured peace and prosperity for generations. My past lives, once a source of torment, were now a tapestry of wisdom, lessons learned, and resilience gained. I continued to heal, to teach, to contribute to the well-being of our pack and the wider community. My bond with Xylos deepened into an unbreakable connection, a love that transcended lifetimes, a chosen destiny far more powerful than any curse. One sunny afternoon, many years later, I stood with Xylos on a high ridge overlooking the flourishing lands of Stonehaven. The allied packs thrived, their howls echoing in harmony across the valleys. Children, bright-eyed and fearless, played freely in the meadows. The world felt peaceful, vibrant, full of promise. A lifetime ago, I mused, leaning into Xylos's comforting embrace. I never thought I would know such peace. I thought I was doomed to repeat the same mistakes, forever cursed. Xylos squeezed my hand, his jade eyes full of warmth. But you chose differently, my Lyra. You remembered, you fought, and you forged your own path. The only curse was the one that bound you to a destiny you didn't choose. Now, you are truly free. I looked at the vibrant landscape, then at Xylos, my true Alpha, my chosen mate. The scars of the past had faded, replaced by the deep, indelible mark of our love, a bond freely chosen, eternally cherished. My life was truly my own, a blank page ready to be filled with adventures, with love, with purpose, with a future unwritten by fate, but crafted by the strength of my own will and the enduring power of a love that was finally, truly, right. The cycle was broken, and I was, finally, home.